that excitement's over. Let's go ahead and check out. Greg Locke seems to be having a bit of a normal one today. So let's see. His pinned tweet, the tweet that he is most proud of. The fact that Trump won is just that, a fact. I can't control the takeover of the willingly deceived people. Oh, the irony. I stand by what I said. I do not apologize for having deep convictions and strong values. So, I'm just going to go ahead and say that is another way of saying I will not apologize for being a stubborn asshole and having a narrow point of view. I will not renounce my support of Trump! Hashtag hold the line! And then the inauguration happened. I'm so sorry, Greg. Did it hurt? Did it hurt when God cast you out of heaven and said, nah, man, you're too fucking stupid for the pearly gates. Reincarnation for you. Did that hurt at all, Greg? It's been 2 hours and this wicked fool has already started changing our alliance with Israel. All you phony Christ followers that voted for Biden need to own this evil. Did he, though? Did he? Did he? Because last I checked, the Israel that exists in the Bible and the Israel that was established by the United Nations are not the same thing. And in fact, a lot of the Muslim extremists that you don't like now happen to have been radicalized by the UN's creation of Israel as it exists right now. But, you know, who am I? Who am I to criticize big-brained Greg? Who am I to criticize big-brained Greg? Let's see, what else do we have here on his lovely little slide? The best is yet to come. Quoted from President Donald J. Trump. Greggy Poo. Former President Donald J. Trump. Get it right. Titles are very important. You guys hold titles to be incredibly important, typically, and you want them to be as accurate as possible. That's why you have problems with trans folk, right? Let's see here. What else we got? We got a lot of copium from January 19th. Isn't it funny how, like, he's only got the one tweet after the inauguration? But he's got a pretty substantial stream of them beforehand. Like, pre-Biden inauguration Greg Locke. Whatever you see and hear tomorrow from the Biden administration is nothing but massive theatrics. This is the biggest drama the world's ever witnessed. Really? This is the biggest drama the world's ever witnessed. Don't you have a narrative about Christ's death? Is that not a bigger drama? I'm sorry. Also, at least me and Greg agree on one thing, is that a massive amount of what the Democratic Party is doing right now is going to end up being posturing. We agree there on something. Isn't that nice? Isn't that sweet to have common ground? Greg Locke, to be clear, I've changed my mind about nothing. Trump will remain president. We'll be exposed. America will remain free. Revival is coming. I think I know what we're supposed to do here. The rules of Twitter are that I'm supposed to respond to this with tweets that aged poorly. That's the rules, right? Those are the Twitter rules? When you see shit like that? It's always easy to tell when the left loses the argument. The race card gets played. Ah! Alright, so this is a lovely little fallacy that you're engaging in right now. There is a type of ad hominem fallacy where you can argue that somebody's point is invalid simply because they've brought up something that you've deemed as like your genetic source for invalidity. That's not how you tell if somebody's losing an argument, okay? Sometimes it's when they get incredibly angry, but even then, that's not a good way of telling if they've lost an argument. The way to tell that somebody's lost an argument is to fact check the shit that they've said. If it's a public debate, then it's hard to really quantify a winner or loser there in certain situations. Now, there are some that I'm okay saying there's a clear winner, like Ken Ham versus Bill Nye. Bill Nye slapped the shit out of Ken Ham, but fact of the matter is, whenever Greg Locke here says that the left loses an argument when the race card gets played, what if the conversation is about race, Greg? That's a weird little middle groundy area, a weird little conversation to have there. You played the race card on me, you lose! Okay, but we were literally talking about BLM. We're literally talking about systemic racism right now. That is the topic of conversation, Greg. How is playing the race card suddenly a loss here when it's the subject of the debate? When it's the subject of the conversation, Greg? It's almost like you get to have conversations like this using this criteria so that instead of actually engaging in the conversation, you get to have tertiary conversations that have little to do with the actual subject matter, and then claim victory whenever you win. But we will keep on going through. Don't listen to the mainstream media. If you think any real Trump supporters, or patriotic Americans for that matter, are really going to be in D.C. Wednesday, then you need to lay off the juice. It's another silly setup. It's all so dumb at this point. More smoke and mirrors. Just remember, folks, the military swore an oath to protect the Constitution. They did not swear to protect a fraudulent election. You're right, Greg. That's why they're not keeping Trump in office. This is one of those things where you get to, like, send it to accidentally left-wing and just go, holy shit, Greg, you're right. The military's not here to support fraudulent elections. That's why Trump isn't staying in the White House. You got it, Greg! You succeeded! Go over to Telegram. Telegram, you know. The left is losing control and everyone can feel it. The news pattern becomes so predictable. Smoke and mirrors. Enjoy the next few days. Oh, God. That actually made me yawn. Greg, can you please name the far left media outlet in the United States? That'd be cool. Please do. Like, can you please name the media outlet that is pro-socialism, that is pro-communism? After, Greg, please, after you've defined those terms. Because I don't want you to go, no, CNN is all communists. It's all communists. They hate Trump. Like, no, I get it, Greg. I get it. Your favorite snowflake president is currently being melted because everybody's pissing on him. I understand. But unless you're willing to define those things, you don't get to say the mainstream media is far left. I'm sorry, Greg. You'll need to define a far left, and then you'll need to actually make an argument that the mainstream media is in fact far left. You can't just say things are far left because they're against Trump. Bitch, Fox News is not entirely pro-Trump right now. Fox News, of all people. Are you going to tell me that Fox News is far left? Is that where we have to go, Greg? CNN employs the world's biggest race-baiting instigator. Don Lemon owes Americans a massive apology. Yeah, Don Lemon, I'm calling you out for listening or likening all Trump supporters to Klansmen and Nazis. You have the most divisive rhetoric of anyone in America. So, can I go and say, there's nothing wrong with divisive rhetoric. Just, here's the reason why. Here's the reason why divisive rhetoric is not bad on its own. Yes, honey? Sure. One sec. There we go. Okay. So, divisive rhetoric is, yes, an instrument that can be used terribly wrong. It can be used very badly. But if the divisive rhetoric is, hey, maybe Nazis are kind of not okay, and maybe we shouldn't support white supremacists, that is divisive rhetoric. But where's the actual dividing line? That's where you have to have that conversation. It doesn't matter that the rhetoric is itself divisive. In fact, actually, come to think of it, Greg, aren't you one of the pastors who prides himself in the divisiveness of what you say? Aren't you one of the pastors? I know this is too quoque. Go ahead and hit me in the comment sections. I don't care. Aren't you one of the pastors who, specifically goes in and says that liberal pastors or pastors that try to preach unity and Christ's love and all that shit, aren't you one of the pastors that says that that's wrong and it's unbiblical and the Bible's supposed to be divisive? How is divisive rhetoric a problem for you now, Greg? I'm sorry, dude. I'm not trying to say you're a hypocrite, okay? I'm just trying to say that you might be a hypocrite. But there's more on Greg's little fun meltdown here. Instagram and Facebook have both reinstated Donald Trump's accounts. Twitter will follow soon enough. Prepare for a truly unbelievable few days. So, I don't think that's going to happen. And I think the most unbelievable thing that's happened right now is that you haven't tweeted any longer on the inauguration day, Greg. That's an unbelievable feat. Let's see. What else do we have here in his lovely little shit? It's fun to see, the build-up to the inauguration. The Republicans that sided with Pelosi are forever marked in politics. Their careers are over. It's doubtful McDonald's will even hire them. Okay, so I love the classist shit here. Greg Locke is not only a divisive person when it comes to his theology, but also when it comes to classism, because this idea that McDonald's is a lower echelon job that is only to be taken by the disgraced, and that even McDonald's won't hire you, is somehow a valid criticism of anyone. It is steeped so much in personal privilege and hatred against working class Americans that it's disgusting. McDonald's isn't great, and the job isn't great, but essentially, insulting and throwing anybody who works at McDonald's under the bus merely because they're trying to make ends meet, and then using that as your way of insulting someone, that's really fucking gross. Imagine how many working class Americans there are in his congregation who aren't going to put two and two together on that and realize he hates them specifically. There's only a handful of people in the entire planet as evil, devious, dangerous, dishonest, and anti-American as Kamala Harris. Sorry, I've been told to pronounce it correctly. My response to that is going to be pronouncing Joe Biden's name, Joe Biden. But that said, I do have to say that while I don't like Kamala Harris, I don't like the policies that she has supported over her career. I don't like the fact that she has directly led to an increase in the disproportionate jailings of African Americans in the United States. I don't like that she has been a contributing factor in all of that. I don't. But to try to say that this person's the most evil, the most corrupt, the most whatever, I don't see how you get to that. Yeah, she's bad. I agree. But there are certainly worse. The dude you stan is certainly worse. So it's interesting to go through these people's Twitters and see kind of the logic that spins the gears in their head, because it almost makes it a lot easier to predict where and what they will melt down about. The evidence is abundantly clear. Antifa and BLM are responsible for the Capitol riots. The FBI doesn't agree with you. We literally did a whole thing on Mr. Obvious showing that that's not the case. But, go on, Queen. They are terrorist groups. CNN and Fox are both 100% in on it. The main instigator was arrested and charged. Oh, this is about Anthony Sullivan, isn't it? Or Jonathan Sullivan. This is about Sullivan? Because dude's been shown to not actually be Antifa/BLM. He literally had been thrown out of multiple BLM groups before he actually did anything at the Capitol. So he's also not the main instigator. That basically would mean that a person of color who is an Antifa insurgent, quote unquote, is somehow more compelling and provocative than Donald Trump. And don't get me wrong, Greg. I agree that there are people who are Antifa that are certainly better rhetoricians than Donald Trump, but I don't think you'd ever admit to that. But the jig is up. It wasn't President Trump. The left created chaos. The amount of copium that has to be huffed to get to the conclusions that Greg Locke does is insane. Unless he wants to say that the FBI is wrong, which, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that they are a perfect organization by any means, by any metric, but to come to the conclusions that Greg Locke does, he has to literally ignore material reality and make up his own, and then sit there and chug seminal fluid from One American News Network and other sources that are more right-wing than Fox News, which is not outside the realm of possibility. I don't know exactly which news sources Greg stands, but he certainly hates the mainstream media, which, I can understand that. But it is fun, honestly, to see this kind of meltdown. Not because I'm taking any particular joy in it, don't get me wrong, I am, but because, like I said before, it does give you a little bit of insight into the type of mentality that drives an individual like this. That drives someone who is in a position of privilege so high that they have to maintain the facade that they are a victim in order to function day to day in life. But that's all we're going to cover from Greg today. I'm interested to see what the rest of his library of tweets and also videos is going to look like within the first few weeks of Biden's presidency. I'm very interested to see what's going to happen here. But if you want to see that whenever we get to that, go ahead and hit the like button, hit subscribe, and hit the bell notification icon so that you'll know whenever a new episode comes out. Also, that like button helps a ton in the algorithm. If you didn't like what I just said or anything that I've covered, then go ahead and leave a dislike. I mean, those help me as well. Thank you all for watching, and hopefully this video has caught you at a good time. Hopefully.